We are to be good subjects, but we need to understand that authority is not absolute in any sphere of life apart from God. Secondly, all authority exists under God. Here's what it says: or there is no authority except from God, what God has appointed. So that means that any authority that claims authority over God, look up here, over God, any authority that claims authority over God has actually claimed authority over that which is wicked. No authority can claim authority over God. Any leader that fails to recognize God, his ways, or his words will become corrupt. We often think of the passage in Scripture that speaks of rendering to Caesar that which is Caesar's. We always use that with regard to paying our taxes, right? And by the way, just so you know, I am a tax-paying citizen. I'm not a cash into the table guy. I pay my taxes. Render to Caesar that which is Caesar's. But the passage is not really speaking about giving money to Caesar when he asks for it. The coin was making a claim about Caesar's authority. And Jesus is essentially saying to his audience, look, folks, if you're going to live in the system and benefit from the system, even marry the system, guess what? You need to obey the system. You don't have to marry the system. You don't have to live within the system. But if you're going to take, and expect from the government, if you're going to get married to the government, if you're going to be unequally yoked at times to the government, then don't start crying when the government or people in positions of authority ask you to do things that are wrong. There are ways, by the way, of sort of extricating yourself from so much dependence upon the government. Now, human beings, it's interesting if you study history, love to be free, but when we get our freedom, we become lazy. And so we look to the government to bail us out, to provide for us. So we're like, I want my freedom. I want my freedom. Okay, here's your freedom. Go take care of your own health. Go manage your own land. Go take care of your own roads. And on and on and on, right? Pay your own wages. We're like, but I only want to work 36 hours a week. But well, can't you help me? The government say, I'll help you. I'm going to tax you more. So they come up with genius ideas, public schools. We all were raised in those, at least most of us were. That was normal. But if you think about it, it's actually abnormal historically. We're raised in public schools. They take care of our health. There's nowhere in the Bible that says the government has to take care of your health, but they take care of your health. They build your roads, they provide policing, and on and on and on. And we just expect it, give me more, give me more, give me more. And what we do, because of our laziness, we end up surrendering our freedom, the freedom that we wanted. We actually give it back to them. And they become our overlords and rulers, and then we're trapped. Like, but I can't survive without government handouts. And it's a vicious circle where free people, because of laziness, return to slavery and find that it's not all that fun being there. So we need to remind ourselves, if we serve civil authorities willfully and perhaps at times unnecessary, we might be prepared for a struggle. You know what would be a good idea for more Christians to start more of their own businesses? I'd love our church to be filled with entrepreneurs. Go out to work on your own. Those of you that are in high offices, get as high as you possibly can. If you're a university professor, go to the very top. Try to become the president. So you can now influence policy. If you're a police officer, become the chief of police. Don't be lazy, go for it. Then you can influence policy. If you're an educator, as soon as you can, become the principal of a school and then a superintendent of education. It's high time for Christians to stop being afraid of the systems and take them back. Stop being so hitched to them or married to them or dependent upon them. All authority exists under God. Third, if you look at the text, it's very clear, if you look at verses 3 and 4, that authority must meet the justice test. There's an assumption here that authority is going to act justly towards its citizenship. What these words do in the text, verses 3 to 4, is they limit the authority of government to righteous acts of public service. Now, somebody might read this and say, oh, this means that God was okay with Hitler. Oh, he's in position of authority, what God puts in place. We can't, we need to obey Hitler. He's telling us to kill Jews, so let's do it. Pol Pot, I know he murdered a lot of people, but God put him in a position of authorities. This is what we think. This is a ridiculous understanding of the text. It's as ridiculous as saying to an abused woman, oh, you must submit to your husband. God's put him in a position of authority. I know he smacks you around a lot and beats you up and locks you up in your room, but submit to authority. That would be absurd. And it's absurd too when government transgresses their sphere of authority. But again, we've given them so much because of our own laziness. Build our roads for us, take care of our health, build our schools, give us building permits. If you remove the toilet from your bathroom, take the 2 bolts off, unhook the water, you got to have a permit to do that. I'm just replacing my toilet, man. Where's your permit? Like we permit the life out of people. You got to have permits for everything. Permit for this and permit for that. You got to have a tag on your dog. You ever thought about why? Why do I have a tag on my dog? Oh, someone said you got to have a tag on your dog. What if the dog runs away? Well, can't I create my own label for it for free? Like everything's hyper-regulated. You got to have a permit to do everything. And all these laws, it just gets worse and worse and worse, right? More laws, more bureaucracy, bigger government, and we become slaves to it. It's not right. It's not the way God has designed government to function. So fortunately, we have the opportunity to, in our system, to oppose government. It's actually a patriotic thing to do. We have an official opposition in the provincial government and in the federal government. And if that wasn't true and the text was meant to be, we'll just obey, period, then how could we ever criticize communistic dictators or people that have put their subjects to death for no valid reason? In pastoral ministry, again, you wouldn't put up with it if I said to you, I'm your pastor, you're cutting my grass this afternoon. So, what? You think you are, buddy? See ya. There's spheres of authority that we live in. Passive people might think government support is helpful. There's always strings attached. As much as possible, do not receive handouts from the government. There's always strings attached. Always strings attached. As we think about the government, then, we need to remind government officials that their fundamental purpose is to provide public justice and, frankly, very little else. Basic public justice and very little else.